Dime tú, ¿verdad? Muy bien, ¿qué te está pasando? Tú no sabes cómo estoy sufriendo. Esto te lo tengo que decir. Cuéntame, tu despedida para mí fue dura. ¿Será que te llevo a la luna? Y yo no supe hacerlo así. Te estaba buscando por la calle gritando. Eso me está matando. Oh no. Te estaba buscando por la calle gritando como un loco tomando. Es que yo sin ti y tú sin mí. Dime qué puedes hacer y eso no me gusta. Eso no me gusta. Es que yo sin ti y tú sin mí. Dime qué puedes hacer.
Hi, Assalamualaikum. My name is Muhammad Ashraf and I will present about introduction of corruption. The word corruption is come from Arabic, ar-rishwa. Al-Fayumi say ar-rishwa is something that someone give to a judge or someone else so that the judge win it, or so that the judge decide the law according to what he wants. Next, according to Ibn Nujaym from the Hanafi school, bribery is something that someone gives to the government or judge or anyone similar to him to change the outcome of the trial or according to his will. Last, the Shafi'i and Hanbali school of thought argue that bribery is something given to a judge so that the judge change his judicial decision.
Next, I want to talk about issue of corruptions. In Malaysia, corruption has been a problem that has affected many institutions and sectors. Multiple factors have exacerbated this issue. So having 4 points, which is number 1, political aspect. This is because politics and business are intertwined. There have been cases of political figures abusing their positions of authority for personal gain or the advantage of their supporters and allies. Number 2 is about lack of transparency. Without adequate oversight, corruption has been able to flourish due to a lack of accountability and transparency in government decision-making processes. Point number 3 is about bureaucratic red tape. Difficult bureaucratic procedures can encourage corruptions because people may demand bribes to speed up processes or take advantage of loopholes. And point number 4 is about patronage culture. Persistent corruptions may be supported by a culture that views gifts, favors, or bribes as standard methods of conducting business.
Corruption is one of the most dangerous crimes, and a person corrupt practice will invite the curse of good and the messenger of good. Therefore, this article will emphasize the danger of corruption from all angles and its adverse effects on the country, as well as the most effective way to stop or at least curb corruption according to Islam. According to the Malaysian Anti-Corruption Commission (MACC), there are 4 main offences of corruption, which are soliciting or accepting a bribe, offering or giving a bribe, making false claim, and abusing a position or position. Relief in certain circumstances about the act of giving bribes in urgent circumstances. In a hadith mentioned by Ibn Hazm, meaning, as for a person who is prevented from his right, then he give a bribe to avoid tyranny on himself, it is required for the giver, but it is forbidden for the receipt of the bribe. The person who acts as an intermediary between the bribe giver and the bribe recipient, the acceptances or giving of bribe as a reward or inducement for performing or refraining from performing an act connected to official duties is known as bribery. Meaning, the Prophet ﷺ cursed the bribe giver, the bribe taker, and the intermediary who is a link between the two.
Next is solution. First solution is give a decent salary. Offering a decent and dignified salary for members can reduce all corruption. This is said that to be so because if a person has enough financial resources, their desire to accept bribes can be avoided. Not only that, the practice of corruption can also damage the morality and ethics of society. The second is political leaders need to declare their assets to ensure sincerity. The light-hearted view on the issue of the corruption has made the government to make sure a declaration of assets to ensure that corrupt activities do not continue to spread and to ensure that sincerity and accountability between leaders. Malaysia Corruption Watch MCW believe that by declaring the asset of the chief executive officer of the government-related companies and government-related investment companies, including members of the judiciary, will have a positive impact in curbing the problem of political corruption. According to MCW 2022, those groups need to provide justification for their excessive income and it ups to MACC to accept it or not. Third is strengthen governance, integrity and anti-corruption. Extreme bureaucracy has increased the issue of the corruption in Malaysia. Therefore, the government needs to monitor the behaviour of members in this age full of technology as well as uphold trust and responsibility in administration. The impact of this corruption on the country can affect the administrative system and the country will lose revenue. The 1MDB scandal is the best example to unravel the impact on this government system. 1MDB is a strategic development company wholly owned by the Malaysian government through the Malaysian Ministry of Finance. Around 2015, Najib Razak, who was the 6th Prime Minister of Malaysia at that time, was said to have channeled money around RM2.6 billion, equivalent to $700 United States at that time, from 1MDB to his personal bank account. This situation caused controversy among the people and caused the people to face the problem of high taxes. Third solution is the government needs to improve the country law. The government should improve the law on criminals who commit corruption. For example, the Prevention of Corruption Act 1997 Act 575 stipulates that those guilty can be imprisoned for less than 14 days and not more than 20 years. And so, side of Dr. Amini Amir Abdullah, lecturer at the Department of Statehood and Civilization, University Putra Malaysia, UPM, say the minimum prison sentence should be increased to no less than 2 years. This is said to be so because there are cases of corruption worth almost millions of ringgit that are subject to a prison sentence of no more than 1 month. This matter is very worrying because the punishment for the action is not commensurate. However, according to the Malaysian Anti-Corruption Commission Act 2009 and states 94, the maximum prison sentence is 20 years, but there is no decision to decide the punishment for the bribes given. Last but not least is awareness of the culture of corruption. In this modern age, the culture of corruption is seen as a gift in business dealings. The government and also company agencies need to eradicate this culture of corruption as a legacy by requiring every officer to take a psychological or psychometric test to test the level of integrity and understanding of integrity. The cases received mostly from civil servants show that they have a low integrity and have damaged the name of the service and also the image of the country.
Next, I will continue with my part, which is recommendation. Corruption is a rejected practice in Islam. It seems to have been described in the solution the most opinions, from the views of the scholars to the views of Islam and the Mufti, are illegal. There are many ways to avoid being trapped in corrupt practice. First of all, as Muslims, we must have a solid religious education. It is said so because religion has also emphasized the prohibition of corruption. So whoever has a religion will obey what has been forbidden by the Lord. Furthermore, corruption can also be avoided if there is yearly exposure to the dangers of corruption that have been committed since I was in school. For example, school can teach corruption-related chapters in Islamic education, moral education, as well as civil and citizenship education. Yearly exposure at school can affect the minds of children who are growing up. Finally, the method of dealing with the practice of corruption and corruption among individuals is to pressure a culture of anti-corruption. Every individual should educate himself to hate corruption from an early age by saying no to corruption. Humanity-based education in the 21st century that consists of humanity. Heart and empathy can educate individuals in line with the national philosophy of education.
Corruption in Islam is considered very reprehensible and strictly forbidden in religious teaching. in Islam emphasize the principle of justice, honesty, and integrity, and views corruption as an ended dimension of society and the justice system. Corruption is considered a violation of Islamic moral and ethical values and can cause great losses both socially and economically. In the Islamic perspective, in the act of giving or accepting bribes is considered to violate the principle of justice. Again, religious teaching emphasize social of justice. In Hadith quotes, there are those who state that law in bribery is clearly prohibited through many religious texts, including the words of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Meaning, they really like to hear false news, they really like to eat everything that is forbidden, bribery, and so on. Surah Al-Ma'idah 42. Therefore, the Muslim community is invited to fight corruption and foster culture of integrity in all aspects of life, with the hope create and just society clean from corruption and in accordance with Islamic values.